Good evening, everyone. My name is David Freese. I'm the mayor of Tonganoxie. I'm calling to order this regular meeting of the Tonganoxie City Council for December 4th, 2023. Ms. Huntington, can you call the roll and note that I'm present, please?
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Partridge?
Here.
Ms. McCutcheon?
Here.
Ms. Stevens?
Here.
Mr. Donnelly?
Here.
Mr. Dale?
Here.
Would you join me in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everybody. Item 2 on the agenda is the approval of minutes, where we review the minutes from the previous meeting. Are there any corrections or conversation about the minutes? Otherwise, I would accept a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thanks, Ms. Stevens. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Mr. Dale?
Yes, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 3 on the agenda is the consent agenda, in which we review the bill payments from the previous period. Are there any corrections, concerns, conversations, or questions about the bill payments? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. McCutcheon. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Partridge. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Old business, we have nothing listed. Mr. Porter, did anyone sign up to speak?
No signups, Mayor.
All right, thank you. On to item 5. I'm going to open the public hearing for the 2023 mid-year budget amendment right now, and Mr. Porter will guide us through this.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to present this item to you all tonight. We've got 2 budget amendments proposed for your consideration. As we approach year end, the rationale behind these amendments is to give us the flexibility to pay for several key projects that have been approved earlier in the year or were of an unexpected nature, or were the result of a great outcome of a grant submission this year. So I'll highlight those 3 scenarios for you briefly. The 2 projects that we're proposing budget amendments in are the 2 funds are the Capital Projects Fund and the city's Fire Equipment Fund. The Capital Projects Fund is a state budgeted fund, so it requires amended state budget forms, provision of public notice in the newspaper and the city website, which we have completed previously as required before tonight, conducting the public hearing that's on the agenda, and then finally a motion to approve the amended budget as presented or with adjustments. The Capital Projects Fund amendments total $260,000 in expenditures and $110,000 in revenue, and those are to account for really 2 main projects. The first is the hail damage repairs to the building we're sitting in right now. We currently anticipate those could be complete by the end of the fiscal year. If so, they'd need to be paid this fiscal year and be accounted for in this year's budget. That's a cash reimbursement besides the $2,500 deductible for the city's capital projects fund from the insurance company. So it's really our money out, our money back in, minus that deductible. So this isn't a negative fund balance implication for that fund to have that major repair, and that totals close to $80,000. You're also already quite familiar, I'm sure, with the 4th Street Bridge project that we accelerated in order to get more construction done next year. During the calendar year in 2024, we advanced design as well as geotechnical services contracts for your consideration earlier this fall. Those were approved, work's ongoing, and thus we'll have some bills to pay later this fiscal year. Those are the 2 key points that require this adjustment, and again, they're items that we've discussed previously, but be happy to take your questions on the Capital Projects Fund. Go ahead. Yeah, I can answer questions on that.
Go ahead.
All right. The Fire Equipment Fund, we're really happy to announce that the fire department is the awarded recipient of the Firehouse Subs Foundation, Public Safety Foundation grant in an amount just less than $23,000. That grant was to purchase a full 100% grant coverage of thermal imaging cameras. I think it's 3 cameras and a mount that helps mount the cameras inside vehicles for ease of use. That's again 100% covered by the grant. We've actually already received the revenue in advance, and we'll complete the purchase after the budget amendment allows the Fire Equipment Fund, the expense authority, to use those grant funds and pay for that in full. Chief Zimmelman wished to be here tonight but was unable, and just would like to express our thanks to him for his efforts in achieving this grant award. If you remember last year, the police department had a very similar outcome and also purchased some equipment with the very same grant, which I always thought was ironic. The firehouse subs gave money to police and fire. So equal opportunity grant program. Just to give you a heads up too, next meeting there may be an additional budget amendment for the Fire Equipment Fund. They have another grant program through the state governor's office for some equipment, radio equipment purchases. The police and fire equipment were both recipients of that award. We're still outlining with the grant program staff whether those funds will be provided to the city and expenses need to be incurred in December, or if they'll be in January and early spring. So we'll keep you updated on that and keep monitoring year end as a whole as we get closer. But happy to take any questions you have, or if I missed anything, just ask that you open and close the public hearing, make 2 separate motions on the 2 budget amendments, and again, happy to take questions.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. As I stated in the beginning of that this is the public hearing for the 2023 mid-year budget amendment. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Porter?
Just one on so we're pulling forward the expenses for the 4th Street Bridge. So do we need to adjust the next year's budget down since we're pulling those forward?
We could right-size that. Typically, if we have the expense authority higher than what we know we'll need, we can kind of have an understanding about that, but we don't typically, and the state doesn't force us to adjust anything downward.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Donnelly, just to follow up on that, so I think the costs that we're most sure of are probably going to be related to design and the geotechnical work. Probably more variables will come in when that project actually goes out for bid, so it'd be nice to keep the full authority on that project.
Well, and I guess the only thing is, as long as we don't lose track of, are we over budget or under budget?
Absolutely.
Because
Yep.
some of that will be hidden. I shouldn't say hidden, that's not the, forgotten.
Yes. No, we
So
will.
that was the whole key, is if we need to keep track of that estimate that Brian put together for us. And okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
Council, do you have any other questions? Is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak during this public hearing? I'm seeing none, so I will close the public hearing and we'll move on to item B. Consider 2021 mid-year budget amendments for the capital projects funds and the fire equipment fund. I'd be looking for a motion unless there are more questions.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 budget amendment for the Capital Projects Fund as described in the agenda statement, published notice of public hearing, and draft state budget forms.
Thank you, Mr. Dale. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Partridge. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item C, consider approval of fire department grant project expenditures for thermal imaging camera. Mr. Porter?
Thank you, Mayor. This item is related to the Fire Equipment Fund budget amendment that we just completed, and it is the authorization to procure that equipment and complete that payment to the vendor, Wise Fire and Safety LLC. The vendor information and their bid, their quote, was initially approved by the grant program, so we have no other steps to complete after you all approve the city making the purchase. And we've already gotten our reimbursement, so the fund will be made whole, or already has been made whole in advance.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Are there any other questions or?
Mayor, if I could jump in, I do have a question.
Yes.
There was discussion about 2 separate motions for the budget amendments, and I think only one of them was included. Is that right, Jake? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, we'll need a separate motion for the item number 3 in the memo.
Should we go back or should we finish what we're doing right now? Does it
I'd
matter?
go back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Dale?
Yeah, I'll make another motion as well to approve the 2023 expenditure and revenue budget amendments for the fire equipment fund as described in the agenda statement.
Thank you, Mr. Dale. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Sorry for getting out over my skis on that one. Back to item C. Any questions for Dan on that grant project expenditures? If not, I'd accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to authorize and approve the attached quote from the Fire Safety Equipment LLC grant to a cost to purchase with the grant money the fire safety equipment for a cost not to exceed $22,855.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Partridge. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Just as an aside, Ms. Kirschlich, did we fulfill what needed to be there?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Item D, Resolution 122301, approving the definition of the City of Tonganoxie 2023 boundaries, meets and bounds. Mr. Brakovich?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So I'm sorry to ask for an adjustment on the fly. We believe that we've captured, this year we've had 2 island annexations. And so we believe that we've captured that correctly in the legal description. However, we submitted this late to the city engineer to ask them to actually map it out to guarantee. And so I think unless Ms. Kirschlich wants to do it differently, maybe we'll just ask to table this item until the next meeting in December to give the city engineer's staff enough time to map that out to make sure that we've appropriately captured all of the annexations that have occurred.
That's fine by me. Does that require a motion?
I think as long as we're okay, if we want to table it to a date certain, we can. It also gives us there's a nuance on the most recent annexation about what could be required for grabbing road right-of-ways, and so we did get a communication today from the county attorney on that, and so we're just wanting to make sure we're 100% in the clear on everything, and move forward from there.
Any
So-
other questions?
Is Brian gonna actually map it out, and can we have a hard copy or put that in the agenda? I
yeah,
assume he'll draw it out.
We'll see how it's been done a variety of ways in the past, where, yeah, they basically give you a map, and then previous island annexations were like the business park or the Army Reserve Center. And so we can certainly ask them just to give us something that is a map that has diagrams placed.
If it's not expensive, it would be a visual for our citizens to see, because they're not gonna read 8 pages of meets and bounds, and having been in the county courthouses
Yes.
many a times reading them,
Yeah.
it would be interesting for our citizens to know what their city really is and what isn't in the city.
Correct. Yeah.
What is the county, and having it laid out, unless somebody is just bored out of their mind to read this and then follow it around.
Well, it hasn't really changed in a couple of years. I mean, this year there are some slight changes, but it's
Yeah.
been the same. I feel like we've seen images in the past couple of years, so
Yep.
that shouldn't be too difficult.
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I'd like to see a map if we could.
Sure. We can, we'll definitely ask for that as part of this.
Okay.
And just so the record's clear, could I get a motion to continue this matter to December 18th, council?
Sure, Ms. Kirsch. Is there a motion? Can we get that motion?
Yeah, I'll move that we table item D and consider it further on the December 18th, 2023 regular city council meeting.
Okay.
Second.
We have this, thank you, Mr. Partridge. Thank you, Mr. Dale. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. City manager agenda, item E.
No further items tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, city attorney agenda.
No items?
All right, thank you. Mayor pro tem agenda.
No items this evening.
All right. City council agenda. Anyone have anything Anything to add? Anything, anybody go to something interesting? No. Okay, great. On to the mayor agenda, I need to select the mayor pro tem. Ms. Stevens has served honorably, and I'd like to just continue with that if she's willing.
I'm definitely willing unless somebody else would like to jump at the opportunity.
Okay. Does anyone else want the opportunity?
You're doing swell.
It's all yours.
I don't think it's in the budget to get a new nameplate. So might as
Definitely
well
not.
leave it on there.
Yeah.
Okay, if I could get a motion, I guess, or approval.
I'm-
I'll move to adopt the mayor's recommendation of Ms. Stevens as mayor pro tem.
Thank you, Mr. Partridge. Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I have nothing more. Mr. Dale, do you have anything?
I'd like to motion that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. McCutcheon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Why can't we do that on a Chiefs game or something?
Yeah, I know.